what is your book about with that name? As we like get into it.
Yeah, so being planted in essence means recognizing opportunities for deep growth, understanding your own inherent potential, and actively creating the conditions internally and externally for that potential to blossom into a stronger and more purposeful self. So much like a plant fulfills its destiny in the garden, that's where I saw myself in the process and at the end of this project of writing the book.
Okay, that's very thorough. So, if somebody was to read this book, let's say they standing in Barnes and Noble or wherever they on Amazon, wherever they find the book, right? They
Mhm.
browsing, they come across you. They don't know you, me, anyone that is associated with this book. They just come across this book or they come across this here interview. What's a chapter? What's one chapter um that you would recommend? Uh, I know every chapter is enlightening in its own, but what's one chapter that you would if they only read one chapter, what should it be and why?
Maybe the cultivation, which is chapter one, because it's a just an understanding of who I am and like a snapshot of me and how I got to where I am. Not necessarily, well, spiritually as well, but like how I was brought up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so man, dealing with whenever we speak about spirituality or anything of that under that umbrella and context, it's a whole lot of let's call them landmines, right? So,
Mhm.
what is very clearly what is this book not for? Have you ever thought about that? Like, what is this book not for?
It is for me, it is not to direct anybody. I am not trying to tell someone what they should and should not be doing. I'm just simply giving my experience and my understanding of God. Um, it's not your Bible. That's what it's not.
Okay.
However, listen, like it's because it is mine though. So like I am very big on saying this is truly my Bible. Because this is my life and this is how I've seen God, and that's in essence to me what the Bible is. It's a life guide, excuse me, not life, a life guide. And yeah, so it is an invitation to see how God has cultivated you, but this isn't the way to go. Like this is just simply sharing how I see God.
Yeah, it's a lens on relationship with God. Would you?
Yeah, that's so
Okay.
good.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
dope. So I want to like obviously I read the book. I get special privileges, but if we were to talk about when I read the book again, I noticed that you talked about your why like why you started this project
Hmm.
and why you began. And you mentioned that you were researching a Bible verse and you also associate that with stumbling across an article and it gave you a certain feeling of an anointed encounter, so to speak.
Hmm.
Actually, so what was what were you researching in scripture, and then what hit you so hard in the article as well? Like, and I also want to add, but I can ask you again. I don't want to put too much on you. But like, what is it that you want the reader to take from your book of how you felt with the article? But first, what was the verse that you were researching?
So that's really good. That's a really good question. And you know me, it's complex. And so, in a sense, that it wasn't a verse per se, like it may have been a verse that I paused on that made me want to go ahead and do a research, but it was more so the theme that I
Right.
kept reading as I was reading the chapter. And so, it was really just talking about in the Bible how God only used animals without blemish or defect. And it made my mind go down this rabbit hole about why that kept being emphasized as if people with special needs weren't or can't be utilized by God. And so when I came across the article, um, but again, this guy from Minnesota who wrote wrote it like I don't know, years ago, maybe a decade ago.
that you
And
referenced in the book.
that, yeah, that I referenced in the book, and the reason why I did not include and go into detail because it wasn't the significance of what I was reading, like reading in regards to my book, but it was
Right,
just how I was blessed by his obedience to write down what God had given him, right? And so
right.
that's why I wrote this book. It was more so my obedience to talk about just the goodness of God, right? And because it impacted me in such a monumental way just by reading this man's obedience in writing down what he understood about God, I'm like, how dare I not? Write that down as well. Write something meaningful down to me as well to share with others, to give wisdom and to give insight of just how good God is, you know?
Yeah.
Um and I wanted to also, I'm trying to think, it was something else that I want to touch on, but I'll pause that because it hasn't come to me yet.
Okay. So you definitely just spoke on through his obedience. So this writing this book, was it would you associate it with being obedience, or was it assignment, or was it more like I'm putting my own twist on it with therapy, or was it more like therapeutic?
Hmm. Okay. It definitely was an act of obedience initially, and then it became assignment. Like if it could be two in one, that would be what it was. And then automatically it turned into something therapeutic because I was able to bless um other people that have got a chance to read it already through my obedience. But let me just say this. Um so it was obedience because I was in a season of fasting where this book came to my mind, like, okay, let me write this down, let me be intentional. I don't know what I'm about to do, but I know I'm about to do something, and every little thing about that time of me fasting led to this point where I'm at now with a published book, if that makes sense. So initially it was obedience. I'm doing this fast, I'm writing things down, and I'm not a journaler, like, a lot of girls, guys as well, they journal daily, sometimes weekly. I was not ever that person. Um, but I started writing things out each day about my fast, and that kind of allowed me to come up with, okay, I think I want to write a book. Okay, I think I want to do, XYZ. And so then it became assignment. And so that's what kind of fueled the book being published, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So just to spin back about the article, so
Hmm.
just like the article, what's if you had a hope when you mentioned it, what were you hoping a stranger would what would you hoping a stranger would feel um after reading Planted the way that you felt and read the article?
My hope, and I hope I'm answering this question,
Yeah,
is that it encourages people to slow their pace down and to look within and recognize their divine moments that may have been shaping them all along when it comes to God's hand on their life. So as you reflect on my book and how I'm talking about God's hand being in every situation and every relationship, whether it be platonic or intimate, um, I hope that you're able to reflect on this as well as you read along.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's kind of why I asked the question, because I was like, man, there's plenty of times where I'm at church or I'm in just random passing in a gas station or whatever the case may be, and
Mhm.
somebody says something, their obedience to and sensitivity to like the spirit of God, that their obedience does something in me to
Mhm.
like inspire, influence, and encourage me to like be on my path, because they have no idea. They don't even know me probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
this was a total stranger that you were having this encounter with. He didn't know you. You didn't see him face to face. Nothing. You just reading the
Right.
article. You see his
Right.
obedience through his work. And so when I
Yeah.
looked at your own book, I'm like, okay. So she's understanding like the each one teach one and the domino effect of how obedience could definitely engage with God's children. So
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so man, that's a lot to take in. So that's the chapter one of cultivation through
Mhm.
the chapter that you would recommend. If they were to stand in the bookstore and just peek through it.
Mhm.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So if I could ask, you talked about slowing down and going inside, and you. So you didn't use the journal. So
Mm-mm.
what led to that? I don't want to pass that. What led to you journaling after not being a journaler? You know what I'm
Honestly, I wish I could give you something other than this. Like, it's not even a cliche answer for real, but it's really the truth. When I tell you, I knew the importance of what I was about to go into. And what's crazy, like when I was starting my fast, but I didn't know like the magnet. I didn't really know the magnitude, but I knew that it was something. Like, I got prayed over before I started this fast, and I just wanted to take it intentionally, if that makes sense.
saying?
Um, I wanted to be intentional. And so I got prayed over before I started this fast. And mind you, I've fasted many of times before this. So it's like it wasn't out of like a ritual or obligation because hadn't ever gotten prayed over before fasting. But it was
Yeah,
just something about it that I just can't even explain. Like, I got prayed over by a woman in my church. And just to get back to the point of journaling, I just wanted to make sure that I remembered everything, you know?
yeah,
Like it was just something new for me. I hadn't ever really practiced um Ramadan before, and so that was what led me into this 40-day fast. And that's a story in itself, you know?
okay,
I Yeah, like it was a mirror of what I had seen, the discipline and the obedience that I've seen in those that partake in Ramadan. And so I knew it was serious, but
yeah,
I didn't know what this would lead to for sure. Yeah.
man, that's powerful. So because you brought up uh Ramadan in the
Mhm.
book. You how do I want to say this? You mentioned a connection between your upbringing with being uh, raised between Catholic structure and Baptist. Let's call it like an outwardly expression, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so how did that shape your relationship with God? And then I want to also touch on during this process you talked about obviously you fasted before, right?
Mhm.
Uh, what did you learn about God during this specific season of this writing on this topic? What did you learn about God in silence as opposed to sound or noise or the regular societal norm of the chaos? How I call it beauty and chaos.
Oh man. Those were I ain't gonna say two totally different questions,
Because
but
you brought up the
mhm,
Ramadan, so I wanted to
yes, touch
speak a little
on,
bit. Yeah, speak
mhm,
about like your
upbringing and understanding, right?
well,
Of God.
I want them to read the book for that part. But I want you to speak on how it shaped your relationship with God. You know what I mean? Because those are two
Yeah.
different quote unquote religions, right?
Yeah.
They're two
Mhm.
different denominations. You
Yeah.
just spoke about Ramadan, which is a religion, but you're talking about in one religion, two different denominations. And I believe that your
Yeah.
authenticity and openness to sharing this book, I think that's something else I took away from this book. Like you were vulnerable enough to share and bold enough to understand that like no, you have a relationship with God and this is how you know it. You voice it by speaking about the upbringing between Catholic structure, the way things
Mhm.
were, the order of it, and then the
Yeah.
Baptist expression. Baptist has a
Yes.
more, you know what I mean. So I just want you to briefly or elaborate a little bit more on how did that shape your relationship with God? Like those two different dynamics, and then you can even
Yeah.
tie in how you're open to um, respecting Ramadan of another
Yeah.
religion. You know what I mean? And how your relationship,
Yeah.
how it impacts your relationship with God as well.
It's so funny because I feel like you kinda even answered it for me. I think
I'm
as a
trying not
little
to.
girl Yeah, no, you're good. That's really what
Okay.
this is about, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. So because you get it, and I think obviously that means I may have did a good job of expressing that and or
I want
explaining
them to
that in
read
my
the
book.
book. No, I was trying not
Yeah.
to. I was
Mm,
trying not to.
no, 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 no. Don't even
Yeah.
overthink it. To be honest, if someone feels inclined to read it, they're gonna read it, and if someone feels like, they're not. But and maybe in
Yeah.
due time, but it's okay. And
Yeah.
but I was gonna say the beauty of being raised as a little girl in a Catholic or in a Catholic school and at home, like going to Baptist churches, and having Baptist faith, I guess, if you will. um it made me have to be open minded. You know what I'm saying? I had to be, and not because anybody forced me, but it's like, okay, I know on Thursdays we're quiet, and in math during mass, and it's almost like they're looking at you like, what are you doing if you're sneezing or if you're talking, and then in a Baptist church on Sundays, they're like, if you sit there quiet, you don't love God, and like, how dare you sit
That
there, and
expression.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the expression, yeah, and it's like it's a two totally different expressions, and so I found myself trying to figure out, well, I feel like they both, you know, um, have a love and a reverence for God that is so deeply, and I understood both. I had to, it was beauty in both of them, you
Mm,
know.
mm.
Mhm.
That's yeah. That's 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 a mature mindset. To be,
Yeah.
and that's a transparent mindset. Like God literally, Holy Spirit dwells in truth. That's literally what it says. So you can't.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the difference between religion and relationship, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I just like that. I definitely like that part about your book, and I was like, man, this is good. So I wanna what's something from your book that you uh were you cautioned in this about anything in the book? Like, were you uh
Um.
like not sure about anything in the book?
Yes. Yes, because I received a lot of revelation during that time of fasting. And so, my revelation in God's truth, to my understanding at least, let me emphasize that, to my
Let me
understanding.
rephrase it as well because I want to rephrase it so it's better.
Okay,
I was thinking about how did
absolutely.
I want to word it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what part of the book did you hesitate to include?
Um,
Basically, same question, just you know what I mean? Because obviously it made the cut, so it's in there.
well, this the thing. I'm not gonna say I like the original question more
The
because it was a
original
little bit
question.
more. It was a little more broad for me.
Okay.
Um, but I will answer. I was hesitant about obviously talking even a little bit about my intimate relationships because I realized as I was writing, um, I was shedding. It was like the book became more about the relationships that I had, but I realized that God shows us who He is and who we are through relationships. And it wasn't about the relationships that I've had with others, but the relationship that I had with God, that I was able to see Him through those relationships, through those personal relationships, like just the beauty and the faithfulness that He has with us. Like
Yeah.
it's so good, it's so raw. Like you just gotta read it. Look, you just have to read it to
Listen,
get what I'm
listen,
saying.
listen. And I wanna. You talking about the beauty in after you talk about the 4 day fast or how you had this more elaborate um detail of God,
Mhm.
so to speak. You saw God in details.
Yeah.
Through the wrong turns, the divine timing, the small
Mhm.
conversations. How we kind of spoke on already. Uh,
Mhm.
do you have a moment that still give you chills?
Oh man. You know what's crazy?
What's that?
The very first, it was the day before I officially started my fast. The
The day
day
before?
before, yep, the
Okay.
day before I
See some
officially
good
started
food
my
on the table,
fast.
huh? You was like, yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
Like,
I just play. Go ahead.
no, it wasn't the food. It was just when I tell you the intentionality was just it still is like unreal because I had took a bath and I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not really big on baths. Like I'll do them, but like my line sister had got me this little bomb bath or bath bomb, if you will. And
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with them because I don't do baths often. Like I'll do them, but but she had got me one, and it was for my birthday. And when I started the fast, it was in March, right? So I had it, and I'm like, you know what? I wanna be real intentional. I wanna like just get ready for what I'm about to embark on, right? Because like I said, I knew it was something different that I was trying, but I didn't realize the magnitude. I couldn't tell you the magnitude that I was stepping into. But getting back to the point,
Mm.
um, I remember vividly as I was like in this bath and just talking to God and preparing for all that I was about to embark upon. Um, it was like I saw this little gemstone, this little I still have it with me. That was just in the water as I was like, God, like, show me a sign. And when I was in the like, just in the water, just enjoying the water, just enjoying my bath, like I come across this, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
It was just so unreal to me. And I have a video of it actually, but when I tell you that gave me chills.
Okay. Man, it
It gave
reminds
me
me of
chills.
when the Bible talks about in the Old Testament for sure. It talks about casting lots. I had to look up what that meant.
Hmm.
Casting lots was like today how we say literally how you just said like God if this is not is I don't consider it playing with God. Is they used to
Right.
do it like when certain books like Samuel and things like that and even Abraham and Moses even they used to always be like well if this day and this happens in this specific order then we know what God says about this, you know.
Mhm. Yep.
And yeah, so that's what it makes me think of. So that's definitely good. So you did touch on who you were becoming in that process. I know you're trying to back away from it, but I want to creep over the door a little bit. So what does becoming the person who can hold what you pray for mean to you? So like you pray for something, and so what does becoming that person mean to you?
Hmm. That's a good question, and I want to make sure that I'm honoring that.
You want me to
Is it a
rephrase it a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, if you could. I just want to make sure, like I said, I'm honoring that. Go ahead.
I got you. So you know, so we pray for something, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then you were talking about in your book. I believe in. See, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give it away. But and
I know what you're talking
you talk
about.
about. Okay, 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 cool, cool, cool. You talk about growth, though. I will say that you talk about growth.
Yes.
So you were talking about you had to actually you can't you were talking about your relationship. I will give you that
Yeah.
one too. And you were talking
Yeah.
about you had to actually become what you were actually praying for, and it was like I just want to know what that meant to you. You know what I mean? Because you had
That's
asked God,
good.
you had prayed for something and got it, and you weren't ready. You acknowledged that you weren't ready for what you prayed for.
Yeah. Um, what it looks like to me is surrendering, surrendering, surrendering. Um,
Physically,
learn.
mentally, or how? How so? How?
Just to surrender into God and allowing the vessels that he used to talk to you to really bless you and be open-minded and open-hearted about it and not being so stuck in your own ways. I think last year for me was transformative, and that's when I wrote my book. Or even just during that whole process, I was being transformed, but just getting out of my own way. And that to me means surrendering. I feel like because something works, that doesn't mean that it's the best way to do it. Or it doesn't mean that it's a better way. It's just look at a different way to do it. That might actually help you. That might actually work more for you. You get what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
it is so deep. It's so many layers to that, but I would say surrendering, and being open to what God has for you to do and become, over what you think. you should do and become.
Think you should know to come. That's good. So
Mhm.
I wanna start to wrap it up because I've had you for a little minute now in the hot seat. So what do you want the reader to do after they finish the last page? They on the last page, boom, they get to the ending. What do you want them to do?
Oh man. Um, that's so funny. I want them to stay tuned to see how God continue to reveal his heart to me. And I'll say it in the garden of the harvest season, right? Like that's literally my last line. And it's so serious because God revealed so many beautiful truths, so many things that I feel like we lean into because that's what we were taught. But God is so much more than what we can even understand and imagine. So just open your mind, prepare your mind and your heart to learn more. Just be open.
Be
That
open.
would be what I would say to take away is to be open. That's how I started it, and that's what I'm gonna say ended my had to be open as a little girl, and I'm encouraging you all to be open, open-minded, and open-hearted.
I will say I really value that response because it goes right into the next question. So you call this a micro memoir, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So why that format instead of a longer autobiography? Like, do you have anything like like
yeah,
what's
yeah.
why not a longer autobiography?
Because I'm still becoming. I'm 30 years old, well, now 31, but I was 30 when I wrote it, and I feel like I have so much more life and so much more to experience. And obviously, you know, what I've lived thus far is beautiful, but even in the chapters, it's not really long. I made it a short book so that people will want to read it because I know sometimes we can be intimidated by a long book. Some, not everyone. Some people like to read, but I wanted it to be for everybody, though. Like guys and girls, girls and guys, you know, all ages. I want people to pick it up and be like, you know what, I can read this. But beyond that, I was about to say that, like, I need to take a second because I kind of lost my thought. If I could be totally honest,
Yeah,
um, uh, what was the question? Let me go back to that.
I got you. So I was just speaking on how you named it a mini like a micro memoir. And
Yeah.
I was asking like, why did
Oh,
you choose that format as opposed to like a more of an autobiography? You started speaking on, you still becoming,
yeah.
you
I got
still
you.
okay, cool.
I remember now, and I thank you for bringing it back. Cause sometimes I get so passionate and
Yeah,
so
I hear it, I hear
like
it, definitely.
it feels so good. But like in my chapters was very intentional in not going into detail about everything because I feel like it would take away from the point of what I was trying to say. I was trying to get to the
The
point of
seed,
how God, yeah, I was trying to get to the like I was giving you the the situation and then how I saw God in it. Because if I gave you, oh yeah, and he did this and or she did that and I learned like it'll take away like you'll get thinking about the wrong things. I'm trying to get you to see the situation and then see how God was in it. And so
oh,
that's why it's micro over just a autobiography because I
autobiography.
God willing, you know what I'm saying? God willing I have more life. But even if I was to leave this earth tomorrow, I think it'll still hold just as much weight, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something because you spoke about you didn't want people to get lost in the details of what was going on. You want them to see the uh, I just say see the God in you were trying to paint the canvas in a certain way and
Yeah.
not drawing attention to the even with the article like you didn't mention his name just because it wasn't necessarily about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the it was deeper than that. You know, God worked on definitely many different levels. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, and I know I said I'm closing, but you just said something that just kind of got another question out of me. So like, when do you feel or how do I want to say this? I want to talk about your relationship with God. When do you uh what's the word I'm looking for, y'all? I don't want to say feel, when are you more aware of God? Let's use that for right now. Is it
Mm-hmm.
when you are when everything is going as planned, or when it's chaotic?
I think that's the beauty of even the chapter Beauty in the Mundane because I've trained myself to see God in all of it, truly. You
All
know what
of
I'm saying?
it. Yeah,
All of it. But it
it's like
took
your posture.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took practice and it took me, I guess him. Like it wasn't even me. Like if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't see it. But as a little girl, I was able to see God's hand in it. And that's why I'm able to reflect on these moments so vividly because God has always been there. God has always had his hand on me, as he does all of us, right? We just have to um cultivate that and like I was saying even in my chapters or one of my chapters how I was always praying even if it wasn't perfectly. I was always talking to God. I was always strengthening my relationship with God, and so I'm able to now see a little bit more clearly how he's in the excitement, he's in the chaos, he's in all of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
truly.
good. So
Mhm.
you're an author now.
Yeah.
Can I look forward to more? Can the reader look forward to seeing your name on their shelf a few more times?
That's God's will, but I am gonna I'm working to start my second book, my sequel, which is I haven't titled it just yet, so don't quote me. But so my first book is planted, so it's gotta do with the harvest, right? Like
Okay.
you get what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I
Like
get
it's gotta
uh,
be the harvest there. This is where the revelations is our excuse me, are actually revealed a little bit more clearly what I really learned because this first book was more so for readers who read this second book to have a little bit more understanding of who I am and how I've come to get these revelations and give me a little bit of credibility and like okay,
yeah,
I see who she is. I see, like, even just me talking about my upbringing in the book, like it kind of gives a little bit more clarity. And not that anybody's story would have more credibility or not with having this information or have experienced what I've experienced. However, at least you'll get to understand me, right?
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So how can people support you? Obviously buy the book, follow.
Yeah.
You got any events coming up? Any speakers?
Ooh, that's so good. I am still a newbie. I've been networking though. I've been networking and I'm so excited to see what God has for me. But I'll say this because um it's about planting and watching seeds grow and being watered. I don't have a timeline. I'm really into allowing seasons to be fully what they
Authenticity.
are.
Yeah,
Authenticity, yeah, like on my website, Planted, I actually talk about that a little bit further. Let me
on your
see.
website,
Yeah, it's called seedsofdevotion.com.
seedsofdevotion.com. Okay,
Yeah. Yep. Seedsofdevotion.com. It's beautiful, man.
okay. So
It's
basically,
beautiful.
speaking engagements and different events, you're open to if it aligns with the things that you write about and talk about. Uh, then you're open to um, giving a more intimate setting to
Yeah,
people that want
yeah.
to collaborate with you.
Yeah, my goal for sure is to hold retreats for those who are interested, spiritual reflection type of retreats. I want to write another book, like I said, my sequel. I'm going to be on YouTube doing a question and answer session for sure, and I'm going to also do a read along. So for those who feel inclined and may not have the money to support me financially, just being blessed by this by tuning in. That's all I could ever ask. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to be a blessing and to be a vessel of hope and light. So definitely tune in to my YouTube, as I'll be releasing chapters one at a time. I haven't decided when, like how I'll go about it, but I'll allow God to do that. So just taking it moment by moment.
Amen. That's good. All
Yeah.
right. So, all right, y'all. Thank you, Carmel. Thank you for allowing me to interview. You know, it's definitely special privileges. So, to any of the listeners, if this book blessed you, uh, don't just like this video or this reel or this clip or however this came across to you. I want you to share it with somebody in your life, in your village, who needs a seed of hope and encouragement. And until next time.